A couple of weeks ago, I finally began my journey into pursuing game development. Since then, I've made a ton of progress, and I've begun to develop a vision for my game. Having rediscovered my love for platformers as a genre, especially those with fast-paced movement, I want to make a game where speedrunning is not only possible and fun, but encouraged. In my as-of-yet untitled platformer, you have a fairly basic movement kit. You can run and jump as expected, with quick acceleration and a fairly high top speed. You can slide to gain a burst of speed, and chaining the ability into a jump may help you to reach places you otherwise couldn't. You can jump off of walls, as expected, up to 4 times before needing to reset, by touching the ground or grabbing a ledge. When airborne, you can press the down input to do a ground slam, and chaining this into a jump gives you a bounce that's significantly higher than your normal jump. As a hint, using this ability might help you to discover some shortcuts. Now, I made the decision pretty early on to not include a double jump in favor of emphasizing precision and making the most use out of the other movement mechanics. And after lots of playtesting and plenty of revisions, I really like this decision, and there hasn't been a moment when I found myself wishing I'd included it. My primary goal with this game is to create a character that feels fluid and exciting to control, and I think I'm on the right track. I had some friends playtest the current iteration of the project, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, what's changed since my last video? First, I added a wall jump animation, and I tweaked the sound effect, which I feel makes a crucial difference in how the ability feels. The next, and perhaps the most important feature I implemented is camera smoothing. Though I had some issues implementing it at first, I feel its inclusion makes a massive difference in the fluidity of the movement and greatly enhances the sense of speed. Sudden accelerations will slightly outpace the camera's movement, which makes the character feel wildly fast in certain places. I love it. By the way, if you ever run into the issue of the HUD following the player and not the camera like I did, try making sure that your hierarchy goes player, camera, canvas layer, and HUD elements, and that the canvas layer is not set to follow your viewport. This got the HUD to remain static as I hoped, but for some reason I still had to offset it by half of the screen width and height afterward. I don't know exactly why this is, but if you do, please feel free to let me know in the comments. After fixing the issues that camera smoothing caused with the heads-up display, I decided to change the text to a pixel font that better fits the aesthetic of my game. Though the HUD isn't nearly finalized, I think this looks a lot better as a placeholder. Next, I was pretty annoyed with how the character could bounce off of ceilings and lose their upward momentum even if they just barely clipped it. I implemented a trifecta of solutions for this. The first is using 3 raycasts to check if the player is just barely clipping the wall on either side, and if so, to nudge them an appropriate amount of pixels so that they don't collide with it and reach their full jump height. I based this solution off a video by the Shaggy Dev, which I'll link in the description. The next solution was to angle the top of the character's hitbox so that colliding with the edge of ceilings while in motion would allow you to slide off of it if the aforementioned raycast criteria wasn't met. The third was to introduce something called ceiling momentum. This prevents the character from immediately falling if they're underneath the ceiling and still holding jump, which in my opinion feels really bad. I'm super proud of myself for thinking of this solution all on my own. Finally, since the way I initially implemented ceiling momentum was overcomplicated, it caused this crazy flying bug that, sadly, I had to remove. Besides that, I overhauled the appearance of my demo level, especially the second area where I used an animated tile map to add some rain. I think it looks pretty sick, especially considering I made the rain sprite myself. At this point, the game felt like it was in a good place, so I decided to share it with some friends. What I didn't realize at the time was that this would result in a back and forth speedrun battle between myself and my good friend Donut that pushed the level's time much farther than I thought possible. When I handed out the demo, my fastest time on the level was 43:69, which used several shortcuts and what I thought at the time was some pretty optimal movement. Shortly after, however, Donut posted a screen cap of a 40.83. As it turned out, he'd already discovered some faster routing at the beginning that saved several seconds, and he found a shortcut in this location. Hilariously, I'd forgotten about removing a single tile that made this skip possible. Though the skip felt tricky and inconsistent when I tried it out, I decided to leave it the way it was, and since then I've managed to get it relatively consistent. Needless to say though, this 40-second run couldn't stand, and I combined Donut's tech with some of my own to achieve a 33:64. Surely it couldn't go much lower, right? Nevertheless, we both kept grinding, and Donut answered back with a 33:51. Even with the current tech, a 32 was definitely possible, and it was beckoning. After getting a couple low 33s, I finally achieved a 3286, convinced that we were reaching the limits of this speedrun. Of course, that wasn't the case. Donut quickly achieved a 3279 just 10 minutes later. Shortly after, I tied his 3279 exactly, and respectfully asked that he leave it at a tie and not beat me again. However, as I posted that message, he was in the middle of an already faster run.
Wait, did he match me? It's funny.
Ending with the final time of 31:51, yes! He was now well over a second faster than me, in part thanks to another precise tech he found right at the beginning. Though I would try for the next hour or two to beat or even come close to his time, it felt like a lost cause. I was, quite literally, beaten at my own game. Astonishingly though, Donut wasn't even done, and later that night he posted this incredibly optimized 3071. I think it's crazy to see just how far the speedrun could be taken in the hands of a skilled player. I believe that sub 30 is possible in the game's current state, but whether it's me or Donut who achieves it first, that'll be a challenge for another day. Now, circling back to the beginning of this video, my goal with this project is to make a game that's fun to speedrun and where the movement feels responsive, exciting, and satisfying. After this, I think it's safe to say I'm on the right track. Though I see myself as being at the foot of a mountain on my game development journey, I've already taken my first steps, and the only way forward is up. Thanks so much for watching this video and following my progress so far. If you'd like to keep tabs on this project, feel free to subscribe as I'll be posting regular updates. At the time of writing this, I'm still waiting on my Steam developer account to be fully approved, but once it is, I'll set up a Steam page so you guys can wishlist this game if you're interested. With that said, it's time for me to get back to work. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope you're all having just as much fun with game development as I am. See you later.